Hey, good morning, 10-minute timeouters. I'm Dr. Matt.
And I'm Dr. Amy.
And today's topic is fight fair with your spouse. We are just going to get vulnerable today. We're going to get real. We had a couple doozies last week. We had a couple of good marital encounters, I guess you'd call them. Fights, spats, I don't know what you want to call them, but we thought, hey, this is about real life. This is about connecting with people, and hey, marriage is one of the most rewarding and most challenging things that you'll ever do in your life, right? So,
absolutely,
a great marriage takes commitment. Takes a whole bunch of stuff. It takes always being right. If you're me, I mean her. She's never wrong as far as I've ever known. And so anyways, what we want to do today is we want to talk about some strategies, talk about some different things we've learned over the years. We're coming up to our 14th anniversary in a couple of weeks. We've got 4 kids. We've got some successful businesses. We have a lot going on in life. And we want to make sure, hey, Colin, good to see you, buddy. We want to make sure that we share any wisdom we can, hopefully bless you guys to live the best version of you that you possibly can. And part of that is just being real. So here we go. First of all, I would say right from the get-go, right? People comment when we do these videos. People say, oh, you guys are so cute. I love the way he looks at you. I love the way he just admires you. And she's like, what, him? That's not really the case. So I think we're maybe cuter than we think we are, but the reality is we struggled right out of the gate. We didn't have this starstruck relationship, match made in heaven kind of thing. People are like, it was love at first sight. Amy was like, no, it wasn't. Right? So what happened?
So we went out on a date, which was really more like a
job. It was a job interview.
It really was. It was literally at a coffee shop, and he sat across the table, and the only thing was missing was the paper and the pen, because he pretty much had all his questions laid out. And I went home and I was like, I think I might have passed, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so the truth there is, see, this is the tactic, right? I didn't even know I do this tactic where I put my arm around her when I want to cut in. You guys all figured that out last week. I didn't even have a clue that's what I do, but I guess I put my arm around her, I cut in. But here's the thing, is it wasn't match made in heaven immediately. It wasn't starstruck, right? Like, it took effort right out of the gate. Like, I wasn't, joyfully engaged with her, all these different things. It was literally, we went to a coffee shop and I interviewed her for an hour in this way I didn't even know I was doing it, right? Like, my communication skills were off. The ways I showed love and appreciation were off. The ways I did a ton of stuff were off, right? But being in a relationship is about being able to work through things, being able to look at the blessings of somebody else, not be overly focused on their downfalls, all those sort of things, and look at what you can do to pour in, to make that better, to be able to walk that out in the most joyful, happiest way possible. It doesn't mean there's never bad days, right?
Right.
Of course there's bad days, but what do you do when you have a bad day? You suck it up and you move forward and you create the next good day.
This is where you go back to the very, very first video that we did about your priorities. What are your priorities? Because those days are going to happen. Like, if you want the honest truth, literally got up this morning. I didn't get to shower because my morning didn't go that way.
I have to deal with that right now. Yeah.
But literally driving down the street, and my son is gagging in the front seat, pull over, and he rolls down the window and proceeds to puke down the side of my car. So they didn't exactly start off the way, literally did a reverse about half a kilometer down the street because I couldn't be bothered to turn around, and pulled into my driveway, dumped him out, and then took the other 3 to school. Anyways, things aren't going to happen the way that you want them to do, or the way you plan them to happen. And so you have to always make sure you go back to your priorities. What are my priorities, and what is my purpose in life? Like, what makes me energized? What makes me excited to get up in the morning? And then that's what you focus on, because if you focus on all the little stuff, like cleaning the side of my car later on today, not so much fun. But if you focus on what makes you tick, then it makes it easier. Okay, so that's what I think for us was important, is that Matt functions differently than I function, and everyone that you meet, even your friends, are going to function different than the way you function.
Right.
And it's important to understand what makes them tick.
Yeah, so what was super helpful for us in understanding that process about
So we read a book together called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And I think for us that was an aha moment.
Oh, huge.
Aha,
it was life-changing.
Aha.
Life-changing, yeah.
It was an aha moment because we realized, like, I think we had an idea of a little of the things that made each other tick, but this really dropped all the pieces into place for us.
Yeah.
Because Matt's love language, the way he gives his love and the way he receives his love is almost a complete 180 from the way that I do.
Yeah, so like just really simple, right? There's these different love languages. There's different things that help people fill up their love tank. And what fills Amy's love tank up is totally different than mine. So it's not my natural default to recognize what she needs. So Amy's love languages are literally gifts and, yeah, surprise, right? Big surprise. Yeah, so her love language is gifts, and then her other love language is quality time. Those are like the furthest from my love languages. I'm not a gifts guy. I'm not a quality time guy. In fact, my love languages are words of affirmation and acts of affection, right? Those are totally different things, right? So I need her to walk around and tell me I'm a stud, right?
Good.
I need her to tell me I'm the man, all that stuff. I also need her to give me affection and affirm me that way. Whereas for Amy, it's all about quality time. She just wants me to be able to stop the 7,000 things I'm doing, sit on the couch, have a cup of tea, and talk, right? She wants me to be able to just bring home a cup of tea on my drive home so that she could literally know that I was thinking about her on the drive home and thought to get her a cup of tea. It's not about a diamond ring. It's not about some crazy huge gift. It's what the gift represents was that she was on my mind. That's super important to her, but it's not my natural default. I have to work on that. And the reason we're committed to working on that stuff is because we don't want to become roommates. We don't want to become people who share expenses and cohabitate together.
Yes.
We want to live deeply in love, pursuing a passionate life, which means we have to be deep in relationship, which means learning about that person and going forward. So those 5 love languages were super important in terms of us trying to
wanting to get,
to me,
forget
it's 4.
the gift.
Yeah,
Forget, there is no gift, love language.
Yeah. So the reality there is that we have to be committed to that because that's a priority of ours, right?
Yes.
Like, marriage is a super important priority to us.
You cannot
so we spend
continue to function in life if you are depleted. And I think for us reading that love language book and realizing that if your love tank is empty, and it was the first time that we realized it, and I thought, yeah, like we've gone through that. We've had those moments where you feel like your love tank is completely empty. And when you feel empty, you are not your best self. And so that's what it's important to have that other person that can, recognize that about yourself and help to fill that up so that you can be the best person you can be. And I think, it always made me laugh whenever I see track and field athletes who have all these coaches, and here's marriage, which is really one of the biggest things that you're going to do, as well as, be parents, and there's no coaching. So that's where the books like The 5 Love Languages, there's a ton of great ones out there.
Another awesome book that I recently read is called Sacred Marriage. It's awesome. There's tons of great stuff in there for you guys. And then the other thing too is recognizing that conflict and communicating about that conflict is good. It's actually, I've got a friend of mine.
Don't be afraid to fight.
Yeah, right.
It's okay.
Yeah, a friend of mine, his mom says that it's when you stop fighting that you actually should be concerned. So, for us, what we've realized is that sharing the feelings surrounding conflict is super important. Where we've had to grow and what's allowed me to stop having less nights in the guest bedroom is how to deal with that conflict in a good way. So here's what happens really is number one is when you're hurt, you want to criticize somebody else, but you can't do that. Criticism is an attack on that person. What you need to do is express how you feel.
Yeah.
So rather than me coming to Amy or Amy coming to me and her saying like, "Hun, you're so busy, you this and this and this and this," and it's an accusation, it's a criticism, what she's getting a lot better at is coming to me and saying to me how she feels, right? So she'll say, I really feel this way, rather than saying, you did this, right?
Or, this event that happened made me feel this way,
Yeah.
Which I think Right, is a big point. The other one I think that's really important too that we've kind of had to learn is that lots of times when someone comes and tells you their emotions or how they're feeling, your gut reaction is to say like, yeah, but this is how I feel.
Yeah, so
and
that's getting defensive. That's the next point, right?
I'm
yeah,
jumping.
but that's good. Jump. It's okay. I'll correct her later. Yeah. Okay. So you can jump, right?
Right.
So that's defensive. I come to you, I say, I feel this, right? The first reaction in the flesh is to be like, well, that's got nothing to do with me. I didn't do that.
Or that makes me feel
or
that way too.
Or you're wrong, or your feelings are wrong. And the next thing you know, you're down this tangent where you're literally saying, oh yeah, well, I remember 5 years ago when you did this and that, right? And that's how, when you're on those tangents and it's got nothing to do with really what's going on, that's where you had literally tons of criticism and you had tons of defensiveness going on.
Yes.
Instead of getting defensive, you got to take responsibility. When Amy comes to me and says, I feel lonely, let's say, right? Like, I have to not sit there and be like, well, you're stupid for feeling lonely because you're this and that and da-da-da. What I have to do is sit there and look at the responsibility that I played in that happening, right? So what she's really just saying when we go back is that her tank is empty in that love language category there, which for her is quality time, and then goes from there. Thanks, Jen. That's such a compliment coming from you. So you just have to look and say, okay, her love language tank is empty, which is quality time, and so then I'm going to sit there and say, okay, how am I going to fill that love tank back up? Rather than getting into this all-out brawl where you're like jab, jab, right hook, all that stuff, sleeping in the spare bedroom, what you need to do, wink, wink, spare bedroom. People know we don't have a spare bedroom, but we make one if we need one. And so the reality there is don't criticize and don't get defensive. Share how you feel, then accept responsibility. And then the last one is the worst one, and you're really good at this, is checking out. When you're done with the conversation, don't be done with the conversation, right? When you get too stressed out or you get overloaded, it's really easy to check out and just be like, well, I'm out of here, my emotions count most, or whatever the case is. Do not do that. Don't check out. Stay engaged. If you need to take a break, say, I need to take a break, and then come back in, go for a walk, re-engage, whatever it is. But don't check out. You know, my grandma could tell us all, without reading 54 psychology books, never ever go to bed on an unsettled argument, any of that sort of stuff, right? Don't go to sleep upset. These are super key, important things. Great for your health, great for your marriage, all of those things, right? So those three tactics of avoiding criticism, don't get defensive, and then don't check out of the conversation. Stay in there, work through the stressful times. This is how you fight fair with your spouse. But remember, the whole thing comes from your love tank being empty. So read that book, The 5 Love Languages.
It's great. Married or not, it will help you understand another person, whether that's your friend, your spouse, your parents. It will help you understand that person so much better.
Yeah, it'll keep you out of hot water more than you ever had before. All right, love you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you later on.